Well, welcome everyone to Mindful Mondays with Laura Cross and this episode of Discover Your Inner Her with Mia Frankl. Mia she's a dedicated mom. She's a driven and passionate entrepreneur committed to supporting women as they embark on their business journey. But Mia's true calling lies in her passion for healing hearts and empowering individuals to realize their full potential. Mia, thank you so much for joining us today.
The honor is all mine, Laura. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no, it's a pleasure. I love the name of your company, by the way, Powerful, instead of, the whole typical. That's very clever. So tell me, how did becoming a stepmom throw you into the cheese grater of your insecurities, and what did you learn from the experience?
Oh my gosh. So I met my husband and stepdaughter when I was in my early 30s, and I had been single for years upon years after having been in what I would call a bad relationship. Yes, it served a purpose. So this sets the stage to kind of let you know who 34-year-old version Mia was and what I thought of myself at that time, which was basically any excuse to reduce my worth. And what could be more triggering than being with a man who's been married and created another human with someone else? And, we at the very early stages hadn't talked about children of our own, but it was kind of on the table. So there was this long and annoying because I wouldn't lean into it, right? Lesson in not seeking my worth as an external condition, but knowing that it comes from within. And we've been together 9 years now. And throughout that, I've done counseling and self-development work and journaling and releasing to distinguish between the external environments and the internal worthiness. So, that in my stepmom journey, it was going to events where it was basically the three of us, even though she had a partner, he wouldn't often come, and this child, and seeing them with her, with this, what felt like just such an undefinable bond, like they created life together, right? So it was triggering all the time. And it caused a lot of tension in the relationship, but it also kept forcing me to look at myself in a deeper way and start to do some deep healing. And it was uncomfortable. And I resisted it, and I still do. Like, it's an ongoing practice, but I've built up my capacity, and now I can kind of recover from a trigger faster and identify that it is a trigger that's triggering me. Right? So that's observing yourself. Oh my gosh, my body's reacting, my heart's racing. What's that? Oh, right. It's my insecurity wound coming up again. And then using tools and nurturing to release that and not let it take over and become a perceived belief.
Wow. So is that what kind of inspired you to launch Powerful? Gotta get the her in there.
Powerful Inc.
Yeah. Powerful Inc. Yeah. Is that what inspired you?
Powerful, but the words are in there. Powerful Inc. came as an evolution of myself. So in the insecurity wound was also this people pleaser element characteristic. And I'm like the dog at the dog park. I just want to play with everybody and make everybody happy and just have a good time and all get along. But the people-pleasing tendencies and servitude, the desire to be of service, put me in a role of giving out and constantly like emptying the bathtub, if you will, like draining out, pouring out energy. And so the things combine together, life, business, they're not separate. They all come together, and business can be a platform in which you get to know yourself better if you so choose. And I hope, and a big part of my message to you audience is that through pursuing one part of your heart, one part of your passion, you find out more about yourself and expand all of your life, not just any one part. So previous to Powerful Inc., it was just miafrankl.com, and I was an online business manager, and I was working one-on-one with clients and keeping track of the chaos and keeping them organized. But that was all consuming, and I was working in a full-time job, which I still hold. So it was a lot to hold on top of having a family, blending and, going through all the dynamics of that. And so about 2 years ago, Powerful Inc. just dropped down as a gift from heaven and as an insight to step further again into my worth and not find ways to be of value by over giving, but ways to be of value that also respect me, that show my self-respect, right? And Powerful Inc. allows me to now kind of play with a lot more components of natural gifts and business goals, which have to do with healing the heart and running a business as a new female entrepreneur who doesn't know anything about what it takes to run a business, but has a great idea, and wants to explore that. And in this brand, I can show up as a model to my stepdaughter and the child that my partner and I had together and lead in a new way. So yes, it's part of that because it encompasses so much more than the online business manager version did.
Yeah, absolutely. You make so many good points there. And one of them was to say, because a lot of people say work is work, home is home.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, it's really not. One affects the other. I don't care how much people try to compartmentalize, one really does affect the other. And you talked about triggers. So when you find yourself triggered, how do you stay grounded and centered in the midst of all the chaos in the emotional term or the emotional turmoil, whichever it may be?
So first of all, I don't always.
I don't think all of us always. It might take a little bit. Yeah.
Sometimes I still lose my head. Right?
Can't imagine.
But like I said, I can recognize that more. So I've been working on tuning into my body because when I'm triggered, it comes as butterflies in the stomach, as though my stomach's dropped out. Like if I'm going on a roller coaster or a drop, it's like whoop, so I can feel it. And then from there, it spreads and I get warm and sweaty and the heart rate increases. So recognizing that before the mind wants to react allows me to pause and take a moment. And it's a very quick moment, guys, like very quick. Oh, I'm reacting to something. And then just breathe. But I had to, again, build up the skill and the practice of doing that. And for me, I can only really practice when I'm triggered, which is a pain. Because then you have to go into a situation that you don't want to be in order to have the physiological trigger come up, right? That body reaction. Like I can sit here and think of some incidents, but I'm not going to be able to get my body to react the same way it does. So this is like control environment versus uncontrolled environment, right?
So kind of heat of the moment and not the heat.
Yeah, exactly.
Heat of the moment. Yeah.
But then to thread them together in between doing some work and getting really uncomfortable and like really ugly honest with myself about what was going on. And I tend to do that very privately or with a counselor who has, like, I haven't seen her in a while, but we did such good work. She was like a boot camp instructor where she would just kind of slam me at my feelings and be like, dude, what about this? What about this? And get under it. And so it was a good way to build the ability to, again, get underneath the trigger that's happening. And so now I I can prepare myself before a situation. So for example, if we're going to a school event and we're all going to see each other, it's a bit more scheduled, I can prepare myself. Or in a situation, if it's ad hoc and it's a pop-in, I'm in the house, so I'm aware that the car has arrived. I can prepare myself, right? And I don't want to mislead. It's not coming from animosity. These are things that I'm holding. These are
Right.
my inner universe and limiting beliefs about myself. So then it's like, okay, and how do I want to feel through this? And what outcome, do I want to see? Or how can I be a supportive part of what's happening here while respecting myself in the process?
Yeah. It's definitely a challenge, and sometimes it's gaining a different perspective. But you bring up a very good point too, is when you're looking inner, like you said, and recognizing that it's you. It's you that what needs to be fixed, instead of just blaming everyone else. It's something with you. You just got to figure it out.
That is like the ugly uncomfortable, the ugly honesty, right? And you want to lash out at them, but you have to take ultimate personal responsibility if you want to change. And an analogy I love to use is a weight loss analogy, or like an improved fitness analogy, if we want to stay out of the vanity of it. Who is going to do the exercise for you? Nobody.
Okay.
Right? It's almost a trick question. Like up
Yeah.
here,
Oh yeah.
I am in Canada, we have these gyms where you can go on these wobble machines, but you
Mm-hmm.
still work out. And then the wobble machine, I don't really know what they're called, but it's supposed to give you a little extra, right? But even at that, you have to move on it. You have to do the work. So it took a couple of years to gain some traction in this, in not looking outwardly and doing, and again, I credit Teresa, who was my counselor, who walked me through that, to really take ownership, which then takes your power back. We always talk about giving our power away, like or rather, it's very empowering to be connected. I don't want to say in control, but connected to what you're feeling. So then you can kind of lead yourself through it a little bit more strongly, a little bit at a time. Like I said, we're 9 years this year, and it took probably a tipping point after about 4 years, where I started to notice a big change. And like, I would get really sweaty and constricted and nervous, and the heartbeat would increase. And when you're in that state, you're less conscious of what you might say, right? You're
Right.
nervous. You just blah, blah, and act weird or say
And you
something.
normally do more damage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where now I still get butterflies and things, but I know that it's coming from me. And it's like, okay, you are a beautiful, wonderful human. You and him have this incredible relationship. Very clearly, they have no interest in each other anymore. And other affirmations like that, to remind myself of facts as much as possible, and then to navigate forward in that. And it does take some getting used to, and it does take some practice. And again, you do need to be in that uncontrolled environment in order to apply it. So you start to gather wisdom from what happened, and then in the in-betweens, go back over that and say, well, why did I react that way? Or what happened there? What do I want to do differently next time? Because you can do mental and emotional practice in between to increase the, again, fitness concept for the next time. And, then you trigger, okay, whoa, I feel it. I'm going to just relax a little. And I'm going to use a pain analogy to describe this, releasing, this expanding instead of constricting. So a wasp sting, they hurt. They hurt like a mother, right?
Yeah.
Or you stub your toe and immediately, and you go tight and you kind of hold on to it. And when you're doing that, you're enhancing the pain. And it seems crazy, but oh, that really hurt. Release. This must be where labor breathing came from, right? When we're having a baby.
I've never had kids, but I could imagine.
I got out at a C-section, so I didn't have to go.
Yeah. Have you ever had dry needling?
Dry needling. I've had those intramuscular.
Yeah, where they stick a needle in, and it's the same thing. If you sit there, embrace and hang on to the pain, it makes it worse. But if you can breathe through it, it actually lessens. It actually lessens the pain.
And you stay in a more kind of created and flowy state, right? Which is a better place to operate from, like anger, grief, disappointment, jealousy. These sort of darker emotions are tight and angry. And even if you look at body scans of where those emotions show up, they're kind of like up high and tight and take a lot of space. And of course, love is all warm and red and everywhere. It's throughout your entire body. It's the only one that's found. There's this beautiful map. If you Google, I don't know, geothermal emotions or something, you can come into this and see. And then you can start to understand how these emotions and body work together so that then you can work with them instead of against them.
Yeah, your body actually tells you quite a bit if you're willing to listen to it. Yeah. So what are the consequences of not grounding yourself during moments of triggers, and how do you navigate back to a place of peace and clarity?
The consequences, like, gosh, sometimes thank heavens that we've stayed together, because I really love this relationship and the life we're building. But it's negativity. It's leaning into less instead of more, and allowing the limiting beliefs to take over, which then limits you in other places. So here we're talking very much in a personal relationship, in a family setting. So imagine me so wounded after an interaction, innocent interaction, really, if a bystander had been watching, and then just feeling so sad, so bad about myself that I then take it out on my partner. Then the child sees, something that's not empowered happening in another woman that they look up to in their life. And it becomes an issue, and it becomes a fight, and it becomes a resentment. And then it is a confirmation bias around, oh yeah, I'm not worthy, and I'm not good enough, and I have a reason to be insecure. Yay! Oh, wait a second.
It's amazing how your mind can go to support that. It takes work to say, yeah, no, better than that.
Like your exercise, go to the mirror and be like, you suck. I don't like you. You're funny looking. Nobody I can't do it without laughing. And maybe, because I've done some pre-work to it, but it's kind of ridiculous, right? It's kind of ridiculous to treat yourself that way. So yeah, the consequences bleed out everywhere. The work to do then is really that uncomfortable honesty. And for me, it's journaling. It's journaling through the practice of writing the feelings and taking a breath before to write the feelings as I feel them without judgment. And I held on to a long time. What if somebody reads this? Well, tough for them, because this is my safe. Why are you going in here? Like, I don't even want to reread it, but I need to process it. I call this the emotional fart, right? We need to let that shit out. Like, it's gotta go. It's gotta go. If it doesn't, it stays trapped and it moves around the body and it gets stuck, and it can, there's a whole scientific world we can go down of how it causes actual physical harm when we hold on to negative energy. And you guys, I speak with life experience to this, because in my day job, I deal with neighbor to neighbor conflict, and I see how it festers and brews in people of all ages and stages of life with, what we would consider no wealth to extreme wealth, and how it turns their body black, if you will, right? So yeah, for me, journaling and or release, a physical expunging. So when there's rage, I like to angry clean, and it's great. Everybody benefits.
You probably get a lot done that way too.
Get a lot done. Angry clean. I mean, like, I scrub that toilet and I wash that floor and I tidy that counter and I put those clothes away and I do it voraciously, you know. But what I'm doing is all that emotion, all that energy inside gets to come out. And I kind of tire myself out like a toddler who has a tantrum and then promptly naps, like, and then you're done, right? I let it out, because if I don't, my body's holding on to it and my mind is staying connected to that and playing it over and over and over and over and over, right? So it's a release. The journaling is a release and then a healing, where if I were to read back, you know, what if this was actually true? And then I can rewrite what I know to be true. I am a beautiful person. We have a special relationship. You know, these incidents are the reality of my life, and I can continue to resist it, or I can accept it and soften into it to make it more enjoyable. I have that choice. That is my utmost personal responsibility. We're young, like, we're not even in our 50s yet. The children are still living at home and will for quite a long time. We have a long way to go if we want this to be enjoyable. And that has been another, like, as you start to uncover, you find more and more. Oh, shoot.
It's a journey.
Like, aren't I done? We hugged. It was great. Like, there's always more, right? And then thinking about the future in this particular example as well, again, helps expand what's happening. So instead of, oh no, another birthday's coming and we have to sit together for 3 hours, like, man, one day we're all going to be at a wedding. You know, one day there's going to be a grandchild, like, a house, or their first move in, or, you know, there's going to be these beautiful life events, school graduations. And how do I, because I can't control others, how do I want to feel in those situations? And then the next level is, what kind of person am I going to be proud of having shown up as in that situation?
Absolutely. I know we have a lot more to dig into, especially about reflecting on your journey and everything, but we do need to take a quick break from a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
We got soul, oh yeah, we got soul.
Hi, I'm Bobby Aldridge with BAM Metrics. There are so many programs out there that measure your swing speed, sets, reps, your BMI, your body fat, but the one thing they're not measuring that's so essential is mobility. Mobility is the key. If you're measuring your mobility, your performance will get better and you will reduce your pain. I created BAM Metrics to make it easy for people to repeat the exercises so they could do it properly at home on their own. It's simple, it's easy to do, and from a senior to a pro athlete.
Relief for PTSD, anxiety, pain, insomnia, and many other ailments. Introducing Vibe, the world's only pocket PEMF device. You place in your pocket while cooking, cleaning, relaxing, watching TV, sitting at your computer, reading, or walking. Self-contained standalone device. No drugs. No other phone or Bluetooth connections required. No monthly subscription fees. No apps to download. No Bozone. The future of medicine is in the frequencies. Come join the revolution.
So, reflecting on your journey, how have you evolved since paying more attention to your emotions, and what internal or external growth have you witnessed?
There's more joy in the house, 100,000,000%. The relationships feel deeper. They feel closer and bigger. And there's a new level of respect between my husband and I as well, to really appreciate and notice the change. He's even commented recently, in lifetime recently, about the difference in how I navigate what used to be very difficult situations. And that is a gift because, again, that draws us closer and that creates expansion instead of constriction, right? I mean, in North America, the stats for blended families are egregious, where it's something like 70%, 70% of second marriages fail from all these different dynamics. We came in with one ex and one kid, and I didn't have any additional contributions, which maybe reduces some of the possible areas for conflict. But in that, it's been amazing. And then, as we said at the start, there's these different, it all threads together. So my family life isn't different than my work life, isn't different than my online business life or my friendships. My capacity now to deal with conflict that's triggering has improved significantly. And in my day job is a really good training ground for that, because I am dealing with very heated people who don't like me and who don't like their neighbor and who don't like what's happening and want a certain outcome. And, in all of these elements, being able to show up more often as the more whole Mia has been invaluable. How I'm showing up at work and how I'm feeling very safe to be the version of me that I am, how I'm showing up online to be very safe in all of the things that I am. It's given me a lot of inner freedom where I don't have to, like you said, be this kind of person here, this kind of person there, and yet another one. I can be the kind of person I am, perfectly imperfect in all the different situations, which makes me feel stronger, makes me feel more confident, and again, dropping in more and more connected to my inherent wholeness that was gifted to me in the womb, right? As soon as I was conceived, like that pure moment, tapping back into that original source. And it's more fun because now, I'm not as serious about things. I can have serious conversations lightly, but respectfully. And I can move through difficult situations easier and easier.
So I'm curious, did others start to notice the change in you before you did, or did you notice the change yourself, or did others start pointing it out?
I mean, it's hard to say. Definitely going to be my own cheerleader. Look at me. I've done all this self-work. Isn't it great? I definitely notice it for myself because of how I feel, because of how my mind, body, and spirit are engaging with each other, right? And knowing that they feel different. Other people are on their own journey and will reflect back based on that and may bring up an old narrative that I thought is no longer true. But like we said before the break, oh, shoot, there's more work, So I get that feedback and I go, am I fooling myself in being naive because I think I've, evolved? Is this person stuck and holding on to an old story? Like, is this story still true? And so then there's this constant discernment around that and looking at that. And if this person still feels that way, why? And what else can I take, again, personal responsibility for in demonstrating or being consistent to show that things have changed, right? Because
Right.
you can so let's call it evolve. You can evolve yourself and expand yourself, but one situation can kind of cause a setback, right? Like say we lost 3 pounds, or we're able to bench press an extra 5 pounds in a week, but then we get injured, or then we eat a whole Dairy Queen cake because they're delicious. And then you're like, oh, whoops, a step back, right?
Right.
And that can kind of, it needs to recalibrate again.
Yeah.
So,
And is it your issue or is it theirs?
yeah,
You know,
100%.
they could be stuck and need to work on themselves
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And appreciating that without turning it into a environmental condition that you want to fix or blame them for or anything. Is like, that's interesting information. Let's think about it. And if that's where this person is, then let's see how to support them in evolving. The other benefits to myself is like, I just like myself more, and I'm more bold. I'm more confident to do things that I would have been so-called afraid to do, like be interviewed on this TV show. Big deal. It's a big deal,
Yeah.
you know, but this is the product of like the iceberg under the water, right? To be able to sit comfortably. What I did before recording is went for a walk. And I've heard all these leaders say, oh, go for a walk, have exercise, whatever, do something that's not the work. Where a year ago or 6 months ago, I probably still would have been working on something until the interview. And then I would have been all sweaty and like, ugh. And instead I expanded and just went for a walk, relaxed, because I can trust myself to know what I'm talking about as a product of the product and as a coach of the product. And I don't mean in like a business sense, in a human to human, collective, supportive, loving way.
Yeah, and I think you just kind of almost answered my next question, because I was going to say, I know you talked about journaling, I know you talked about angry cleaning, and now we're talking about walking. But I was going to say, because in moments of self-doubt or insecurity, I was curious of what practices or techniques do you normally rely on to nurture your inner strength and confidence? Do you have any others, or are those your main ones?
I think my business is really the practice to build my confidence, right? I host a podcast, I run a coaching program, I'm building a community, I'm networking. I'm networking with online entrepreneurs that I would consider outside my current level. Like they're like a big deal. Like I had one come as a guest on the podcast, and it was major girl crush, like Hollywood starry eyes of me to her. And I had to keep self-regulating the whole time, holding conversation with her and saying, of course you can do this. Of course it's a match. You know, of course you're good. And so I guess the practice is make the situation harder so that you can practice harder, right? So again, an analogy is, how does an Olympian get to the Olympics? It's not by doing the same workout they did on day 1 5 years ago. It's by, yeah, right? Increasing, and finding different ways to do that, that hopefully aren't going to be like continuously putting yourself in a place of conflict to get better at conflict.
Yeah.
You know, hopefully in places that are fun, that are joyful, that allow you to be expressed, that, and it sounds funny, but that allow you to practice being all of who you are.
Yeah. Sometimes to do that, you kind of have to remove yourself from situation or have time to yourself just to figure all that out. But can you tell me how do you differentiate between a trigger that requires immediate attention and one that can be processed later through mindfulness practices?
A trigger that requires immediate attention. In the heat of the moment, like you said, okay, I had an example when we were at the in-laws, and it was very triggering. And the first time I just sat there and I tried to be dutiful and people please. And then I didn't enjoy that. And so when it came up again, I left. And there was no harm in me leaving at all. And, just like, it was nothing negative, again, all completely personal, internal, but it was deciding that it's okay not to people please in a situation and leave. For something that can be dealt with later, taking time to reflect on it and to kind of set a vision for an outcome. Where do I want this to go? What do I want to kind of get? Am I coming from ego? Am I, trying to manipulate towards a certain outcome? Or am I trying to heal part of myself in this? And exploring it, you could go for a walk and think about it. You could write about it. You could Google and read about it. In the early years of blending, for all intents and purposes, I Googled a lot of articles and read a lot of articles because that additional perspective was comforting to know we're not alone. And insightful, just to hear somebody else's story. So, part of it is we get so narrowly focused. We're selfish creatures, on what's happening to us. We forget it's happening to a lot of other people. So you can normalize the experience and feel validated if you want to, and then strategize around a different outcome than what you're feeling.
Yeah. Are you familiar at all with the book A Power of Now? The Power of Now, A New Earth with
Are you kidding? I just put it back on my nightstand, Laura. Get out.
So I read The Power of Now first. Now I'm reading the New Earth one. But yeah, that's what it talks about, is being present. Because everything else is just, you can't control the future. What's done's done. You can't control that either. So if you can stay in your present,
you're in the moment, but that doesn't mean that has to be all that is, right? And Eckhart is so delightful. And I would, also share as a promo to him, the audio version of the book is so great because I love his voice and I love listening to him, and he's just so funny. It's a great way for, to absorb that information. So there's that perspective. He talks about an incident with a tree, and like, the tree is just a tree is a tree is a tree. It doesn't care about whether or not you like me, whether or not the bird landed on me or them, whether or not the squirrel is coming to me or somewhere. Like, a tree is just a tree is a tree. It's so simple, and we overcomplicate it. So yeah, books are invaluable ways of seeing how you react. And certain ones, if you read them again later, you'll notice how they hit and resonate with you differently to who you are now versus who you were.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I start every morning by reading a little bit more and I work on getting through that myself. But it's a really good book if anyone wants to check that one out as well. So how do you maintain a sense of presence and mindfulness among all of the hustle and bustle, your daily life, your entrepreneurial responsibilities, and obviously you're in, to me, what sounds like a stressful job. So I don't do well with conflict. So I couldn't handle a job of having someone come to me all the time that's angry. Yeah. So my hat's off to you that you can do that.
Yeah, it's so weird because I'm such a Care Bear. And then I'm these crazy people. Hope they're not listening. It comes from, you kind of asked this and I don't think I directly answered it, but it comes from putting myself first. And to me, that is waking up and spending time in this space, in my little office space here, with coffee and journaling and reading and just free playing. I've been working to let go of the structure of it and to just let it be the quiet morning time. I need about an hour and a half, of time for me to sit in my inner cosmos and just get a feel for what's happening inside of me that day, and get my heart and body set to go out into the world. And when I don't take that time, it sets a very different frequency for the day. And I notice it. So I can start the day feeling so like a cloud, just, open and big. if I sleep in, or on the weekends, what tends to happen is as soon as I wake up, my daughter wakes up, but of course not during the Monday to Friday, like when we have to. And then I just have to get up and going too soon. So whatever, 20 minutes, half an hour, I'll take it. Even just sitting in here sometimes doing nothing is enough for me to just get soft and like grounded is a good word for it, but also just kind of connected with my different layers and getting ready for the day. And, journaling can be so many different things. So I like to use prompts. I like to free journal. I like to express what I'm feeling and use it again as a way to let go of things, or to ask myself questions, or a new one that came that I probably was aware of, but a new friend just really put it nicely, is future journaling, futuring, right? Where she's writing about her day as though that's what actually happened. And so it connects you to some sustainability and some continuity, a higher vision than what's ahead of you just that day. So any of those practices are just really lovely. And again, for me, there's something about the heart, mind, and body connection of really writing it. I've typed, but it's just not the same as really going through, like building that neuro pathway with the actual words, right? With the actual hand script.
Right. So what role would you say self-compassion has played in your journey towards mindfulness, and especially when you're faced with those triggers that stir up self-criticism or doubt?
Well, I started, hi, my name's Mia, I'm not perfect. So
and you use the same term I did. I always tell people I am perfectly imperfect. I am good with that.
Grace, you give yourself grace. When a friend comes to you and explains their situation to you, you're going to be like, oh, dude, that was like terrible. We're not their coach. We're not their counselor. We can call them out. But it's to not expect yourself to, and then to try better next time is all you can do. So the self-compassion is, I have a personal goal for the person I want to be proud of having showed up as. And if I hit 70%, 80%, that sits well with me. But I'm not going to pressure myself, into having to kind of get 100% every time. You have to have some room for error, and then, be aware when that happens, so that it's not like, oh, I'm allowed to screw up because I've been so good. It's to expect that screw ups are going to happen, and then to love yourself through it. I was doing so good for a whole year. I was so perfect and nothing happened. And then it's all gone, down the drain in a moment. No, I anticipate that there will be these times, and it's okay. It's what we do to recover after that,
and
really
not keep spiraling.
Not keep spiraling.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. So have you noticed any patterns or themes in the triggers that arise for you? And how do you approach them do you approach them with a sense of curiosity, understanding, but have you noticed the patterns?
Yeah.
Yeah,
jealousy. So it's easy to really recognize. And, again, being able to name those triggers is an empowering state to act from, because then it's harder for them to take over, right? As though they're a separate entity. And it also kind of gives me a continuous focus of what I have to work on with myself, of where I have to have that ugly honesty about myself. Right. Why am I still jealous? Why am I still not feeling enough? Why am I still, being bothered by this? Like, for example, very clearly, everybody has a past. Everybody has a past. And in the larger population, there are a lot of other families structured in a similar way. So if this were to mean something about my worth, does that mean that everybody else has an unworthiness wound too, and this is what they're receiving as a result of it? Like, no, it doesn't. It's just, it doesn't have to mean anything.
Yeah. So all this work you've been doing, how's your perception of success shifted? Has it shifted at all?
Right? Yeah, of course. Because I was chasing the dream. I was chasing the entrepreneurial dream, and I was idolizing that. And I had blinders towards that, and would do in my naive state whatever I thought it would take to create a full-time online business that I could do from anywhere, anytime, la, la, la. You know, I love my job. I love having a steady stream of revenue, and I love having benefits, and I love that it's building a pension or 401k, right? I love having a routine, Monday to Friday, set schedule. I love moving into my online business without as much pressure, as much expectation. I can do it for the joy of it. And I love the changes in my family, and the way that my husband and I can recover from a conflict, not just induced by, you know, my insecurities, et cetera, from anything, and how we're all growing stronger. And again, how I am more of myself in more places, more and more often. That feels really easy. It's getting easier and easier to just be me. It's such a crazy thing. But, you know, when we're babies, we're not thinking about any of this stuff. I'm hungry. Wah. I'm tired. Wah. I pooped myself. Wah. Not worried about how is mommy going to react. None of that. It comes as we take on, you know, other people's interactions with us and turn them into meaning. So when angry people come at me at work, that's their stuff. That is nothing. They don't know me. They don't know anything about me. And, you know, then I don't have to take it on. So it allows you to stay boundaried. It allows you to stay strong, and it allows you to stay reminded of, you know, how awesome you are at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. Yes, those boundaries are a huge, huge part in not taking things personally. But reflecting on your transformation, what advice would you give to others looking to cultivate mindfulness in their own lives, especially when they're faced with triggers that challenge their sense of peace and clarity?
You guys, mastery takes time. Mastery takes time. Mindfulness mastery takes time. I don't know what Eckhart Tolle's immersion entailed. Maybe 10 years in a monastery. I don't know that much about his personal life, but there's no instant gratification in this. So dissolve that from the pressure that you put on yourself and stay committed to some percentage of consistency that is over 50, over 50% consistency, commitment to that. And then keep at it, because it will never end.
No.
And if it does, like, what are you missing out on, you know?
Yeah, it's a constant journey. And like you said, we get into today's world where everybody wants things yesterday, but you figure it took us years to do all this damage. You can't wave a wand and expect it to be gone the next day. It's going to take work.
You're going through a hoarding situation with your internal emotions.
Throwing out the internal garbage.
And you can only do that sort of room by room, a bit at a time. The other thing is too, like, if you were to go into an immersion, like, don't consider some sort of 3-day exorcist type of experience, because there's always recalibrating to occur as you reveal more wounds and come to peace with them. And it is worth it. the mastery of self is worth that growing sense of peace. This, like, to me, it's like a sun bursting out of the rib cage that's like glowing and getting warmer. And it's worth putting work and patience and care into to achieve that and to feel that, you know, and then to be able to access that feeling more and more often.
Yeah. Now you have a podcast. So what is the name of your podcast? Or is that what's on your YouTube channel? I put your YouTube channel up, but what's...
So the YouTube channel has a few different things happening. I have the podcast featured on there now, which is Powerful Inc. Startup Stories. So for new female business owners, we feature you. If you're a new female business owner, you can come on down and I'll interview you or have a great time. If you've never been on a podcast, start with mine. I'm great. And then on the YouTube channel too, I'm growing more service, right? More tips and insights and, you know, for lack of a better word, coaching or healing and teaching around your worthiness and applying it if you are interested in running an online business, because that will test you about who you are. So that's the podcast. Yeah, available on podcast players. And then I decided to start video and featuring it on YouTube.
Nice. And your website, Powerful Inc.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best place for people to connect with you.
Yeah, come to powerfulinc.com/blog and get on the email list. I've got a beautiful free gift. It's one of the videos out of my program Trinity. And just this, like, well, for me, killer email that I wrote. Get it and let me know what you think. Powerfulinc.com/blog. Get on the email list, because that's where your business is, first of all, and where I do all my communications through. And then, of course, on all the different social places, everything should be at Powerful Inc. Tag that way. So, but the blog is great. I'm writing you letters from the heart, right? About what we're going through and how we support ourselves in going through it.
Yeah, and that is beautiful. And I want to thank you so much for taking the time to share all that with everybody. We have a couple of minutes left. Do you have any last words that you want to share with everyone?
You know, the human experience is a beautiful gift, and the body is one modality of that, but who you are is in that body. You are this entirely big, capable, incredible force and spirit. And that is a worthy place to invest. So whatever your aspirations are, you make a difference by being here. And I know it's like so cliche, but spending time to love yourself is better for you and for all of us. And that's like really a responsibility that we have to each other, weave together across the entire planet to come from a deeper place of love for a better future. Little by little by little. That's how it happens. That's how big change happens.
Yeah, it definitely takes time. But I do want to thank you for taking the time to share your journey and your insights with our audience today. I greatly appreciate it.
Oh, it's been such a thrill. I can't thank you enough, Laura.
Oh, you bet. Anytime. Everybody, I hope you have a wonderful week, and we will see you next Monday.